So if you're stuck and you can't come to China right now due to current regulations due to the pandemic, but you still want to teach Chinese students in China and get paid independently, I'll show you how in this video if you stay tuned. So in this video, I want to be covering 3 sections to actually make this happen. The first one is how to get clients. The second one, probably the most important, is setting your payment gateway to make sure you can receive payments from China into your US bank account or your bank account in whatever country you are. Recently, I had a subscriber reach out to me coming up with this question. I figured why not make a video about it as I guided her through the whole process and I bridged that gap of making her become an independent teacher in China without being tied to certain platforms. Although it was a bumpy ride at first, eventually it worked out for the best. Now to cover the first topic, as most of you may know, without clients, you ain't got a business. So probably most importantly, you need to build a customer base. Now doing this from scratch can be incredibly difficult in China, especially if you're not familiar with the social media channels here. But as some of you may be considering or already considering, you may have already been using platforms that are quite common in China, like Magic Ears, GoGoKid, and VIP Kid. All of you may already be using these kinds of platforms. And this is when I talked to my subscriber, I asked them what platforms do you currently use. Well, apparently these platforms can be a gateway to actually expand your customer base. Now for you to successfully actually build a bigger customer base, WeChat is 100% mandatory. The best ways of communication in China is definitely WeChat. And I have actually made a video going step by step on how to create a WeChat, how to use WeChat and its functions right here. So you can go ahead and check it out at a later time. But you absolutely need WeChat because not only can you contact the parents, you can also make groups for the parents and give them updates, whatever you need for your teaching materials. Now, as I mentioned before, you should probably already be using a platform because doing it 100% from scratch may not be so easy, especially because you know nobody in China and you have no way to reach customers. So I'll show you guys a little secret and a little tip. So did you pick it up? If you look carefully in the background, I changed something discreetly. Well, it's my QR code for WeChat. You can discreetly leave that up there or discreetly leave your WeChat ID so that you can get direct contact with the customer. Now, don't be blaming me for any consequences that happen. I just know people that have done this as a strategy to get more customers as they get more teachers on those platforms that already exist. Because a lot of those parents complain about the pricing and the quality that they can provide for their students. So you never know that you can provide a better option for them and be able to get more customers at the same time. But again, the consequences for doing this are on you. So I would say once you build a base of at least 5 potential customers, then you can go to number 2, which is the payment gateway, probably one of the most important steps so that you can actually start this business out. Now, unfortunately, Chinese cannot just pay your direct bank account in the USA. They can, but it is quite difficult. And the more difficult you make it for the customer, the more unlikely they're going to go ahead and forward the purchase. But if you can accept payments on WeChat or Alipay, then you're gold. But haven't you heard that you need a Chinese bank account to have these platforms running? Well, what if I told you that there's a way around it? Now, you won't be 100% authenticated, but you can have it set up to the point where you can receive cash and use that cash and send it to other people for maybe currency exchange or whatever it may be. If you want super high limits, like maybe 200,000 RMB or more each month, then yeah, you're going to need to get authenticated with a Chinese bank account. But if you're okay with receiving maybe 20 to 50,000 RMB each month or even less than that, just to get the wheels turning before you can actually create a full authenticated account when you come to China with a Chinese bank account, then you may consider this option. And this option is to create an Alipay tour pass. I actually go through in great detail on how to create an Alipay tour pass right here. So the idea is that you get your passport from your home country. It supports hundreds of countries. It may support yours, most likely will, but there are still some countries it doesn't support. And then you go ahead and pass the authentication with your passport. As soon as your authentication is passed and you can log in with the phone number you registered, you can now receive money on Alipay. You simply go to collect on your Alipay and use this QR code to receive payments from your customers. You can also make it easy that you can ask for your customers' Alipay accounts. You can add them as a friend and they can transfer you money from there. Realize that because you're not authenticated in this version of Alipay, you can receive limited payments and you may have to wait a 24-hour period before the payment actually hits your Alipay balance. So, how do I get that RMB to your home country's currency? This is a tough question and there's a couple ways around it. If you are a US citizen and or have a US bank account with a US ID card, not necessarily a citizen, but maybe like a driver's license or something like that, you can actually apply for a Swapsy account. Swapsy is a peer-to-peer platform that changes your RMB to USD and vice versa. So think of it as that you're paying someone with Alipay and RMB and they pay you back in your Zelle account or your PayPal account in the United States. I go into great detail on how to set up this platform from start to finish in this link right here. I'll also put up sign up instructions and more details in the description down below if you were to have any questions. But wait, what if I don't have a US bank account? What if I don't have a US citizenship? Well, all hope is not lost, but it's a little bit more difficult. You're most likely going to have to find a Chinese partner that can help you transfer the money from Alipay to your foreign bank account, or that can help you set up a Chinese PayPal account. But for Chinese PayPal accounts, you actually need to have a Chinese bank account. So I would recommend finding a Chinese partner you trust, whether it's one of your customers like the parents or like a Chinese friend you know that you can actually trust. When you get paid in Alipay, you can send them the money in Alipay. Then they can use the currency exchange function on Alipay for overseas transfers that only Chinese people can do. Even if you have a Chinese bank account and you're a foreigner in China, you cannot use this function. Realize that this function only supports up to 50,000 USD worth of transactions overseas for every person every year. Meaning that if you have a partner and they've already transferred, let's say, $45,000 overseas, they can only transfer $5,000 until that year is up, and then they can start all over. So that would be my recommendation to you guys of changing RMB to whatever currency you wanted in using a Chinese partner if you're not a US citizen. If you are a US citizen, 100% go with Swapsy. It's very convenient and user friendly. I do want to note that the market here can be pretty rough. As I help my subscriber out through this process, I realize that their demands in the Chinese market are quite heavy. They do really value children's education, so the market is definitely there, but they definitely want to see progress in their children's speaking ability as well as their test scores. So just be ready for this kind of feedback from your customers when you actually start building a customer base. Now, don't feel like this is only limited to teaching. If you have other things you want to teach or that are valuable for people that may not be for young Asian children or Chinese children, but you can use it for other applications like how-to tutorials, how to set up an online store, how to penetrate the overseas market. It can be all kinds of e-learning materials. You can follow this same plan to actually get your business started. So what are you waiting for? If you've been thinking about doing this, especially during this pandemic period when a lot of us are working from home and you don't know how, now you have a framework on how to get started. Let me know if this information was valuable for you, and if it was valuable for anybody else that is in your situation or in a similar situation, please share this video for them so that they can learn how to get started now. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on my social media, for I try to respond within a 24-hour period, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see weekly content about having a better lifestyle and better business as a foreigner in China. Thanks for watching this episode. Keep surviving, and I'll catch you in the next video.